Hello, it's Friday. Come in, come in. I'm looking for something. Which I might or might not find. Well, we will forget about that. Anyway, hello. Good to see you guys. Oh, sorry, a blinky blink going on. I wonder what that is. Anyway, hi, Joan. Hey, Sharon. Hi, Purple Nana. Hi, Peggy. Sorry, had a little blinky thing happening there for a second. Hey, Mickey. Good to see you guys. It's Friday. It is hopefully a drama-free Friday. And, yeah. We're all here, I hope. Everything sound okay to you guys? Sound and look okay? Hello, Rhonda. Good to see you in the chat. Good to see you in the chat. Good to see everybody. Hi, Dorothy. Hello. Dorothy's after it with the emojis today. That's good. Sounds good. Okay, perfect. All right. So, it is an interesting day today. The weather is cooling off. That is like so awesome. So awesome. And I'm very happy. I'm very happy about that. And I mean, it's still, warm in the afternoons, but it's cooling off nicely now. Hi, Shu. Good to see you. Rhonda is Jinx, in case you all don't know. She's one of my mods. Much appreciated mods. Yeah, so it is getting to be that time of year where the weather's cooling off and it's football season, you guys. It is football season. Okay, now, I'm not the most educated football person in the whole world, by any means. Okay, not even close. Not even close. And football here is college football. And so last night was the first football game at the university here. First football game. And sorry, while I put on a little hand lotion to get my finger to cooperate. It's my finger is much better than it used to be, but it's not as good as I hope it'll get. But as long as I keep hand lotion on it of some kind, we're all good. Anyway, enough of that. No personal stuff. Hey, Catherine. Oh, you got it? Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm so glad you got it. I was a little worried about the shipping situation. I'm glad you got it. Hey, Kathy. Catherine. Purple Nana Linda, it is really good to see you posting. I saw you posting some stuff on Instagram. That was good to see that. I don't know what the crowns are. I haven't figured it out yet. So, anyway, some people seem to see them, some people don't. I don't know what they are. Doesn't seem to harm or help anything. Anyway, so I went to a football game last night. It was the first one. And we sit on the east side of the stadium. So anytime there's a game in the afternoon or the early evening, that sun, it just beats right on over and cooks you for a while. And then when the sun goes down, the temperature seems to drop like by 20 degrees. And so that was nice once that temperature dropped, and it was good. And our team won 61-6. So, yeah. Don't you feel sorry for another team when that happens? If you're into sports at all. Hey, Connie. Anyway, it was fun to go to the first game, and that's when autumn is right around the corner here. So yeah, so that was fun. Okay, and it was full. Had a lot of college students, and it was a lot. It was a lot of people there. It's very noisy, hard to talk to anybody around you for a while, and then it calmed down a little bit, but it was still fun. It was good. It's really good. Anyway, okay, Connie Kane, it's good to see you. All right, let's go to what we were doing on Monday night. And what I was doing was, these two are old. I used the bleeding tissue paper. And so we were using that and in different ways and attaching it with water, only with water, onto these cards, which are watercolor cards that I got from Amazon. It was a box of 100 watercolor card bases. This whole thing is watercolor. They come pre-scored. I showed how to fold them on Monday night. Basically, the short version is there's an innie and an outie in the fold, and you fold it so that it's counterintuitive. You see that little outie part there? That's the part that you fold on the inside of your card, as opposed to the innie part. See, it's in. That's on the outside of your card. Doesn't really make sense, but as I understand it, that's how it's supposed to be. Thank you, Joan. Okay, so we did different things, and I was using the big sheets of the bleeding tissue paper. So I used, because you can get it in shapes and you can get it in bigger sheets. So I took big sheets and hacked off about, 5-inch across the end of the sheets, and then just cut some of it into strips and some of it into bigger, wider strips, and then we just played with it. So this one is one where I crunched up the colors and put the water down and smashed the scrunched up tissue paper right into that, and then just let it dry. So you end up with a nice white space situation going on, which is not my favorite thing to have. It's very hard for me to leave it, but this way it happens automatically, and the colors, because you have enough water down there, will bleed into each other. And then if you want to, you can save the tissue paper, let it dry, and then you can use it as a collage element. I have a lot of tissue paper and of the bleeding tissue paper, so I didn't save it. I know. Shoot me now. Okay, so there's that one. This one, I put strips of the bleeding tissue just going all different directions. You can kind of see some like that. And because it's bleeding, if you get enough water down there, it will run into each other, which is what I was trying to get it to do, but yet, have the suggestion of some of the strips. Again, some white space showed up. This one I did just with the strips going diagonally. And right here, this is a good example. This one and one other one, that if you try to force the result, you're going to get probably disappointed. So right here, I had a real harsh line, so I wet it and put another strip of paper on it. It looks forced, but it'll be okay, I think. This one was just all the strips of paper going vertically. Again, got some white space happening. This is the one where I really tried to force it, and because there was some white space I wanted to get rid of. It really doesn't work. Hey, Barbara Clark, good to see you. I am here today. I am. Monday night's questionable. I don't know if I'll be here Monday night. It is Monday is a holiday here in the States, and also we're having guests who are coming tomorrow and staying for until a week from Monday. So I'm not really sure whether I'll be here Monday night or not. So if I'm here, you'll see me, and if I'm not, you'll go, oh, it's a holiday. Okay? Okay. So anyway, this is the one that kind of was forced. I tried to fill in the white space, and it did look kind of weird and cranky. It was a cranky page, cranky card. And so we're going to have to just sort of play with this one and see what happens. In a way, it almost looks like there's a shoreline here with some shrubbery or something. Like this might be water, and some of it's reflecting down, and like this could be a beach, and this and then you get up here and you go, not sure what that is. Yeah, not sure what that is. So that's what happens when you force it. It doesn't turn out very well. You're much better off to just simply, for one thing, the colors muddy up. You're much better off, in my experience, for just putting the water on the color, on the watercolor paper, putting the tissue in it, whatever way you choose to do it. See how clear the colors are if you let them just do their thing, and then how forced and muddy it becomes if you don't. So there you go. This one was one we did weeks back, and this one you can get the bleeding tissue in circles, and you can get it in a variety of circles, a variety of shapes of circles, and so I just put that around the border, and then I don't know what I did in here. Again, you can tell it's not, when you get into this kind of thing, it starts looking like you're trying to make it do something, and watercolor of any kind does not like to do that, so don't do it. This one was, I think, just strips of the water of the bleeding tissue that I put on here and just let it do its thing. So I think I took strips and then cut some of the strips down. I got some different shapes and stuff. Okay? Okay. This one was from one of the cards that we did a long time ago, and I didn't like what happened, and so I just cut out the flower, and I thought, well, we may do something with this. And actually, I may cut this, trim this up a little bit more. So let me see if I can do that. So how are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good day today. We went for a walk, and we walked through a field, and I knew better than to do it. I did it anyway. You know, if you don't pay attention to that inner knowing, that intuition, whatever you want to call it, if you don't pay attention to that, most of the time it will make you pay. And I am very allergic to, or very reactive, I should say. I react a lot to things like ticks and chiggers and red bugs. We've had this discussion many times in the past, and how I've turned myself into a Smurf before, and I'll explain more if you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, okay, so that might be a little bit better. Got rid of a little bit more of the stuff on there. So anyway, we went walking, and I didn't spray my feet and jeans with bug stuff, and so I am I'm a little itchy here and there. It's not as bad as it has been in the past, but oh my goodness, those are some wicked bugs, and I react to them. I surely do. Yeah, so anyway, okay, so let's play today. I hope you all are doing okay. Don't hesitate to chat in the chat. That would be great if you did. We're going to play with some stamps, And I thought what we would do is stamp some things, because I have this big wad of Dilution stamps. These are all pretty old. So I have this flower here that we can do something with. The wild, yes, they do love me. The wild things do love me. Hey, they are some wicked, wicked bugs. They really are. Those little, these ticks are called seed ticks, if you're not familiar with them. And they are so tiny. They're almost microscopic. They're so tiny. Chiggers are really, really teeny, and you really can't see the chiggers. But by the time you start reacting to them, it's too late. It's gonna run its course. And so, yeah, those tiny little bugs. Oh my goodness, boy, do I react to those. Anyway, so we're gonna go through these and pull out some of these stamps that I thought we might use. And then we're not going to do Christmas ones, so we're going to ignore those. And these are some border stamps, which are pretty interesting. What does that one say? I don't even know what that says. Maybe it's just, oh, it says journaling. I don't know. Maybe it just says the word journaling. I don't know. Anyway, so I thought we might work with some of the borders. Maybe this one. So it'll take me forever to put these back together later, but it's okay. All right, let's look at this one. This is a good leaf one. So we're just playing with these to see what's what. These are from Diane Reevely, in case you don't know Diane Reevely. She is from the UK. And this one might be. And she has a very unique, quirky kind of style. And I always like her houses, so we might just pull this whole thing out with the houses. And this was, here we go. Okay, so we'll see what we can do with those, okay? And if we need more, we'll go back and get some more. Okay, hi Kimberly. Any questions from anybody? Put them in all caps if you would. I know, the bugs are just so yucky and so itchy. All right, and you know, some of us just really, really react to them. Some of us are very sensitive to them. My poor little sensitive skin. No. Yeah, it just is what it is. Okay, let me get a stamp block. Here we go. I was going to say this could be a challenge, but I found them. So what I have here, and I haven't stamped in forever, so we'll see how this goes. So what I have are just acrylic blocks in here of various kinds. If you don't have pencil block or pencil cases like this is a good time of year to look for them. And I usually try to label them with label maker. But they're good storage systems. It is very much her style. That is true. Yeah. Okay, so let's take one of these. Let's take this one. We're going to practice on one. And I'm just going to stamp, and then we're actually going to do some coloring. on these, and we're going to use something that I haven't used in a super long time. So let's see what we can come up with. Alright, this might be a good place to use this. Let's find out. And actually I need another thing to act like a stem to finish this stem out. So let me look real quick here. Just for something fun to complete the stem. Let's use this. I don't know. It might be fine and it might be crazy. Alright, so let's put this on here. Now the great part about these skinny stamps like this is you can bend them to go the way you want them to go. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to use black ink. We're going to find out. I'm going to stamp with this a little bit on just some scrap paper because I need to see how my ink, that's not bad, how the ink pad is. Sometimes you have to end up conditioning the stamp. You got to get it working for you. So okay, so we're gonna put, say we put this flower here, and let's say we put okay. And then let's see if we can, we'll kind of make this kind of work a little at a time. We'll just sort of make it work. Sorry, just getting off the screen all over the place here. Okay, and so we're gonna kind of just add to the stamp that's there. So we are having at our house a shrimp boil on Sunday afternoon. I've never done it before. Never have done a shrimp boil. I have no idea how this is going to go. We got the stuff. We have people coming. And by golly, we're going to have a shrimp boil. Has anybody in this group ever done a shrimp boil before? Barbara's working on making hidden paper clips. Cool. Barbara does some, sorry, my toe is itching. I may have to stop and scratch every so often because it is so itchy over here. Yeah, shrimp boil. We had never done one before, but we're going to find out how it works. You can't eat something that looks alive. Well, there you go. That could be a problem. That could be a problem. Okay, let's see if we can ink around the edge of this flower a little bit. This is going to be our trial piece. So anyway, we're going to have a shrimp boil. So we have a lot of people coming. We're going to do it on the driveway. That's the plan at the moment. We'll see how that works. Lost my chat. Hang on. There we go. So we're going to eat on the driveway. We got, so Elton has been working on getting all that ready. I've been working on trying, understand, I just moved into this house not very long ago, so I'm still trying to unpack. You know, there's nothing like inviting a bunch of people over to kind of get you motivated, right? Anyway, yeah, so, and then you got to go to a football game and throw a few other things into the mix, and hey, all I'm trying to do here is just to kind of ink around the edges of this watercolor paper a little bit. And if you don't have a lint roller to clean up the crumbs on your desk, I highly recommend that you get one, because they are invaluable, especially the ones that do this where you just pull off the sheet. Then you got a whole new sticky situation going on. Okay, so let's say that this flower is going to go here. And we need to kind of make this kind of blend together. And so I thought what we would do is experiment, because it's been a while since I've done this, using these pastel, water-soluble pastel painting sticks. So I thought we'd play with these because I haven't used them in a long time. These are water-soluble pastels. And the weather's supposed to be really nice. Hi, Denise. Sorry, I know when I stop, it's like, you know what I'm doing? I'm scratching the bites. Okay, so these came from, I got these from Jerry's Artorama a long time ago. And so this is, and they were very reasonably priced, actually. So this is the swatch section from that section of pastels, and this is the swatch from this one, and I think that's it. I think there's just 2 layers. Anyway, I typically, when I use these, and it, like I said, it's been a while since I've done this, I typically paint straight from the box of pastels. You can also use regular chalk pastels, and these are not oil, these are chalk, and you can just paint straight from the box. You can also get them out and you could actually put the pastel on paper and then you could wet it and that kind of thing, which I don't generally do. I generally paint from the box. You can also use regular, like, kids pastel sticks, and you can turn those into paint. These, as I recall, I'm going to look here. It's been a while since I've looked at my instructions. Some of the notes are, when these were dry, I could layer one color over another. When they're dry, they still look like pastel. And so supposedly they, as I recall, it's been a while, like I said, since I used these, but supposedly when they are dry, they don't rub off the paper. But I wouldn't trust that. I probably will still spray it with a bit of air or a sealant of some kind, like a workable fixative, or like matte finish, the 1311 matte finish that I like so well. Okay. Okay, so here you go. Let's see how this goes. So I have some water right here, just some water and a small brush, and I'm not going to pay too much attention to the color swatch, I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. So let's just wet some of these chalks, pastels. And this is about where my stem is going to be, and so let's just paint. If you have not painted with pastel before, I find it really fun to do. I've painted with it several times, and it really depends on your surface, and it depends on your personal brand of pastels as to how they actually work for you and how tightly do they stick to the paper, or when they're dry, do they just brush off? And so that's something that you're just going to have to experiment with and try out and see if you even like the concept of working with pastel and water. So that's what I'm going to be doing here, is just kind of painting with this. So yeah, I was going to tell you way back when we were doing a thing called geocaching, and I've talked to you guys about this a little bit, and some of you are familiar with geocaching. Geocaching is like a grown-up's way of treasure hunting. It's a little bit like letterboxing, if you're familiar with that. Geocaching, and this is back years back, and Clausman and I did that. He did a lot of it, more than I did, but I went with him sometimes. And so people will put the geocaches out, and then they put a coordinate. Okay, so you see kind of what I'm going for here. It's gonna take a minute to make this work together, and it may never work perfectly. And if it doesn't on this one, oh well, you know, we don't really care. Anyway, with geocaching, you apply for, back when he was doing it, you would apply for to the geocaching gods, whoever that is, for the right to go put a geocache someplace. It had to be on place that you had the ability to do it, and then you would put your coordinates online, and then other people who wanted to go and look for the caches could do that. They would download the coordinates and they'd put them in. At that point, it wasn't in your phone. You'd get a GPS, and a little handheld GPS, and you'd go basically treasure hunt, and you would find those caches. And inside the caches, I mean, it was crazy, honestly. Inside the caches, you would have things like there'd be different little things in it, little treasure things. It was all junk, people. It was all junk, but it was like Matchbox cars, or stuff from a thrift store, you know, small things, charms, beads. I mean, it could be any number of different things that you could put in the caches. And then there was always a logbook. And so you would sign the logbook, and then if you had treasures with you, you could put in a treasure and you could take a treasure. And there was a whole lot of other stuff involved. Okay? Whole lot of stuff. And so anyway, we would do that. But most of the time, these were out where you had to walk through things like weeds and you know, grass and weeds and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you kind of see where I'm going with this, I bet. I bet you know where I'm going with this. And so I had no idea to begin with. I had no idea. All right, I'm going to see if I can make this happen. We're going to find out whether I can make this leaf situation stamp the way I want it to or not. Anyway, so we would go the first few times we went geocaching. Okay, that'll work. And I am here to tell you that I did not know about the bug situation. I had no idea about the bug situation, none whatsoever. And so right off the bat, I got familiar with chiggers and ticks and so forth real quick. Okay, and so anything that doesn't print, we will add to in a little bit. So some of these I'm going to, you can see me, I'm just stamping with my hand. And some of these I will put on the stamp block to do. I do need a piece of paper. So I hesitate to tell you how many times I got bitten. And I'm not talking bitten a little bit. I'm talking about bitten a whole lot. We're going to just put some leaves down here to just act like a kind of a grounding for this flower thing we got going on. I'm just playing here today, so I hope you're up for just doing some playing. Okay, all right. So anyway, I can't tell you how many times I got bitten, a whole lot, a whole big bunch. And so then the challenge is, how do you sustain the itch without driving yourself crazy? And so I tried every kind of remedy, and anything that anybody suggested, I would try it. Well, one time we decided that we would take our bikes and we would go put them on the back of the car, and so we ended up going to a neighboring state which had a bunch, and the whole point of this was to go geocaching. Okay, and so that's what we were going to do. Well, not only did this particular state have geocaches, and not only did they have these little ticks and these little wicked red bugs and things, and believe me, it would take me weeks to get over some of these bite things, because I would get like dozens of these bites would get me. But they had these things, and we didn't know this at the time, but they had these things called deer ticks. And these were different. These were different than the ones that we had here. And I'm here to tell you, even though we had sprays, and we'd spray our pant legs and our shoes and stuff, these ticks, these deer things, were wicked, and it was absolutely horrible. Okay, it was absolutely horrible. I mean, I was miserable, and Clausman got him too, but I reacted a lot worse than he did. And so we're asking the people, the natives of the state, we're asking them, how do you deal with these? And they're like, oh, they're like, oh, and they're talking to you like, oh, you poor silly person, right? This is going to be bad. And so then they would give you all these remedies. All right, so one of the remedies was, there was everything from bleach to, okay, I gotta kind of work quickly here, because whatever's under this is gonna lift up. This could be an interesting experiment here. So there was bleach, there were different kinds of soaps. The stuff that you could put on, like chicken pox and all things like that. And Chigarid, that was another one. And nail polish, like clear nail polish. I would have used red nail polish. I wouldn't care. I was so miserable. I did not care what the color of the polish was. And everything helped a little bit, but nothing helped a whole lot. And so one of the suggestions was that I had not heard was bluing. Okay, bluing is a laundry product. Fellsnap the soap is another one. Okay, I'm not telling anybody on here to try any of this stuff, by the way. Nope. I'm just telling you this for a good laugh. And so I'd already tried all kinds of things because we were staying at a hotel, like a it was like a lodge, a state lodge. And we were going to stay at the state lodge for a week. And so I, in order not to be just totally grossly miserable, I was willing to try anything. And because the only place I had any relief, because these bites were all over my legs from my ankles clear up past my knees, and it was a lot of them. And okay, so you got the picture of how far these things had traveled, and you can't see them. It's just like the bites just show up. Okay, so one of the remedies, as I said, was bluing. Okay, bluing, in case you're not familiar with it, some of you are already collapsed with laughter, and I totally agree with you. Bluing is a laundry product that you go get, and it is truly blue, but it makes whiter clothes. It makes white clothes whiter, supposedly. Okay? And so we had to look and look and look till we found it, because it's not everybody has bluing anymore, because not everybody cares about keeping their white clothes white anymore. And so we go find a bottle of bluing at some who knows where. And I'm sure to this day, whoever told us this is just absolutely having the best time, still laughing about the idiots from Missouri that thought this would work. Anyway, but I, like I said, desperate, try anything. So I went and we got the bottle of bluing, and in the parking lot, I'm pulling my pant legs up from my shoes, pulling my pant legs up past my knees. And I am dabbing bluing all over my bites. And I'm sure that the end of the story is I just turned myself into a Smurf. Bicarbonate of soda paste is good for itchy bites. Well, that would be far better than turning yourself into a Smurf. Vicks Vapor Rub. Yeah, I think I've tried that. The problem is when you just have so many, your body just goes, I give up! I give up! And it just, Anyway, yeah, so turned myself into a Smurf. Surely did. Okay, let's look at this again. So what I've done is I've just painted the leaves that I stamped on there and the stem. And so I've just painted those with the pastels. And then I'm going to just see if I can integrate this together with some, once this is all dry, I'll come in with some dots, which is what I used up here, with some Posca pens, some black and white dots, and I'll see if I can integrate this down. Oh, you got it, Terry. Oh, good. That's so good. That's so good. I love all the ideas in the chat. Purple Nana says she puts hand sanitizer straight away and it stops the itch and takes the swelling down. Oh, that's very good. Good ideas. See, I'm open to any ideas. Okay, any ideas. Although these are not as what I'm dealing with now. It's not that bad. It really isn't. Okay, so there you go. That is that one, and I think it probably will work. And it's a little more colorful than what you see on the screen. If I tip it a little bit, you see the colors a little bit better. So I think it works. I think it works. And then what I will do, actually I'll do it now, is I prefer to use blue. The cobalt blue is what I prefer to edge things in. Sorry about the big arm in the screen. So this is cobalt blue. What I stamped with was jet black, and this is dark. The cobalt blue is dark, but it just has some color. Whoops, good thing that didn't do. But it has a little bit of color, so it's not just black. And I like to use it, it just gives it a little bit of a border around the edge. And this is just a little piece of, what is this stuff? Okay, I have it here. Here it is. It's a Ranger product. It's cut and dry stamp pad foam. And so I just cut it into little pieces. I don't know if you can still get it, but that's what these are, is the foam from that. I learned that trick a long time ago from another streamer. And once it starts shedding the foam off all over your surface, then I generally throw it away and get a new piece. But I will use it until it totally gives up the ghost. And because that's just kind of what I do. It's not like I don't have more of it, but you know. Okay. So it just kind of borders the edge of it, and then if you want to border it even more, you can come in and use another stamp, or just doodle a border around the edge, or just put a little bit of a border around it, call it good. And then when you want to put a sentiment on it, you can do that using something you find from a magazine, or stamps, or stickers, or whatever you want to use. Okay, so I'm just putting a little bit more of the green down here, down at the bottom here. So it's just a way to kind of enhance what you want to do. If you don't like it, you can use some other coloring medium. That's perfectly acceptable too. So we'll set that one aside. Good enough. Let's move on. Try something else. Hello, Jean. Okay. So let's go for another one. Another card. So this one also, same thing, and it can go this way or sideways, long ways or sideways, or vertical or horizontal if you prefer. And let's explore some of these little houses, shall we? No more of the cut and dry foam. Okay. Well, that's too bad. That is too bad, because that's a good product. It really was. So what you can use instead is just use a makeup sponge. You don't have to use this, just use a makeup sponge that you can get at the dollar store or wherever else you might want to get it. You can do that. Alright, let's see if we can put a couple of houses here. And then maybe we'll put a little, one of these little houses kind of up, kind of like it's in the background. I'm not a super great stamper, you guys. I just play with it and I do it till I get what I like. Okay, so we're just gonna stick this little card right here with a piece of scrap paper under it, and let's see what we get. So what are you guys doing today? I hope you're having a great day. Let's just see what happens. It's always good to be close to children. Aren't they cute houses? These are Diane Reevely's. Okay, so that's going to require a little extra work with a pen. Okay, so I'm just going to use what's there, and using a permanent pen, I'm just going to come in and just sort of give it a little more presence. And the one thing about these that's nice is that they're pretty scribbly, and so you don't have to be real precise when you come in and add some ink, just to make them look a little more there, a little stronger in the outline. I'm going to switch to a little thicker nib. So it's darker outline. Alright, I'm not going to worry about the printing and stuff that was there. Now, this did have windows in it, so maybe we'll go ahead and, if I would stamp on a foam, piece of foam under here, that would give us a better impression. But you know what? I didn't do that. So I'm just going to make it up. And we're just going to give it a little door. And just kind of do a scribbly outline so it kind of goes with the character of the stamp. Alright, so there's one little house. And this little house I really did a crappy job stamping these, didn't I? Part of that is my ink pad is not very juicy. And this has a line coming through it. I don't know what that's about, but that's part of the stamp. Like that. So we might just go ahead and take that idea and just kind of embellish on that a little bit. So make up our own siding embellishments and so forth. Alright, and then this little guy down here didn't stamp worth the beans, so we're going to make him up totally. Okay, so we have a little door, and then we have a little roof here that kind of goes like this, a little wonky roof, and then this one has some like gingerbread type shingles on it. And then go back and just kind of mess it up a little bit. That will be more in character with the stamp. And then if we want to, we can take a little bit of artist license and put a little bit of a smokestack or a chimney coming off the side. Okay, so we're good. We're good. Alrighty. So let's see. Houses in a thunderstorm. Yeah, there you go. Alright, let's put some chalk paint on those, and I'm just going to look at these for a second. Let's see. I'm just checking to see if this is going to want to come off. It's not much wanting to come off, and it's dry. So that's okay. Good enough. Okay, so let's play with this, and we're going to stay in the same kind of color way that this card, the backing is, the background. So let me get to my other layer of paints, chalks actually. And let's start with, let's do some of this turquoise color here, right here, some strong turquoise. Let's do some of that. And let's see what happens. So I'm just putting a good amount of water on there to liquefy the chalk. And then let's see what this does. How about let's make a patchwork roof. So, have any of you painted or worked with pastel, liquefying it to turn it into paint? Have any of you tried that? Let me know. Okay, so we've got some of that. Let's go to a different color. So let's go to this kind of a periwinkle color and add some of that here and there. But as I said, when I've done this before, I've done mandalas using the chalks like this. I thought they were a pretty cool art medium. Something different. You know, sometimes you just want to do something that's a little bit different. Not the same old, same old. You know what I mean? Jelly bean. Oh, that's neat, Connie. Okay, let's come down here to whatever this really dark color is. And just doing some patchwork roof, patchwork shingles. When we were in Italy, doesn't it sound pretentious? I don't mean it to be. We were in Italy several weeks ago with Elton's family, and we're gonna make this a bright color. And we saw some of the things that were so fascinating for me were the colors of the buildings. And although I don't think they had patchwork colored shingles, this kind of the bright colors of buildings kind of remind me of some of the buildings that we saw there. Okay, I think I'm going to have to wait to add any shading to that. So let's come to one of the yellows here, and let's see if we can put some light in the windows. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see how the shrimp boil turns out. So when I see you again next, somebody remember to ask me how it turned out. Here's hoping it turns out well. All right, let's put a purple door. Even though this is down in the green section, let's see what happens if we turn it into purple. Add some purple to it. I also, here. I think this is one of the journals I use this technique in. We'll set this off and let it dry just a smidge. Yeah, this has chalk in the background. This has pastel. This is the pastel like kids pastel. It's not this. This is more of an artist grade, but it's still not expensive. But what's back in here that is painted, that is over the top of the stuff that I put, the modeling paste that I put through a stencil, that's pastel. So is this. All of this in the background is wet pastel gone through a stencil. So that's what all of that is. This is the same thing. This is pastel, chalk pastel with a sponge, and it's through a stencil. This is pastel. So this was modeling paste put through a stencil, let it dry, and then I came back and rubbed the pastel, wet pastel, over the top of it. And the same thing here. So this, you can see, is really, maybe you can see it's really wet. It's pretty drippy. You can see the drips on here. So that's all done using the kids grade, kids version of this, like you could buy at a discount store. So that's another, so that's a way that where I did use it before. Yeah, the modeling paste really does some cool stuff. So if you have questions or comments that you want me to look at, be sure you put them in all caps. That really helps me be able to see them. Okay, so we got a purple door. We got a pink chimney. Let's see if we can put a little bit more maybe shading, or just make it a little different up here on this chimney. I don't know. So I'm just using a dark red right here. I'm trying to get enough of it liquefied that I can actually pick it up. And then I'm just going to pat it down just to give it a little shading variation, so it's not just totally flat. All right, let's see if what we can do to this little house down here. What color should we make this house? What color should we make? Should we make it a lavender house? I don't know why, but you know, we could. There's no rules. We're making it up. It's our house. And you can also switch and use a bigger brush instead of this tiny one that I'm using. When you're doing stuff like this, you do not have to make everything very precise. It's actually better, I think, a lot of times if you just sort of match the illustration or the stamp, which in this case is kind of scribbly. If you want to watch how to be free with what you do, watch a child, a 3 or 4-year-old kid, 5-year-old kid. They will paint things the most wonderful colors, and they'll just do all kinds of cool things that because they don't have restrictions, unless we as adults put those on that child and say, oh, but the sky must be blue, the house has to be this, and the thing has to be that. Bye, Terry. Enjoy. Have a great time. Okay, so while we're here, let's take a little more color. While we're still looking at this little house, let's take a little more color, and let's see if we can put a little more variety in these windows inside. And blend it just a little bit. That'll just give it a little more interest. Blending it just a teeny bit. Yeah, that looks more like somebody's home. Yeah, okay. So let's move over to the next little house just for grins. And for this one, this has already got a nice blue, so how about if we just shade that, instead of trying to paint that house, make it different than it is. Let's work with what's there. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of the dark blue down the side and across under the roof, and just pat it just a little bit to blend it out just a little bit. And if it needs more, you can always come back and add a little bit more. Pat in some more color. And I'm just patting the edge of it just so it doesn't dry with just a stripe of color. I like that better. And then how about for the door, let's use this, whatever this is, burnt sienna kind of color. And let's come around this door, make it have a little bit more wood grain kind of look about it, maybe. Now the chalk, when you're working with the pastels, it does dry very quickly, so you have to keep your water close by, and you do need to keep dabbing or picking up water when you're working with it, because see how quickly it absorbs into that chalk and the pastel. So you got to keep picking it up. Okay, I'm going to use the same color, even though it's this wood color. It's going to look different on top of the green maybe, and put up here in this little chimney that we added. And you can always alter the color as you go along. You can add more. Like, for example, maybe we'll take some of this dark brown and add a little bit more of this around. That little door. Again, we're not trying to make everything exactly the same color, but just give it a little variety, which is kind of fun. And how about on the roof? Let's go and do just something completely kind of off the wall, but how about something that kind of relates to what's happening there? Let's use this dark green. And let's, keeping with kind of the patchwork idea, let's just stroke in some of that color. And then maybe some of this limey green color. And put in a little bit of that here and there. Okay, and maybe even come to this yellow and like suggest that there might be some sunshine here and there on the roof. Okay, and there's no windows on this in this house. There's no windows, just a door, and so apparently the windows are on the back side of the house. So we're just going to go with that idea. And then let's come over here to this little house. I think I'm going to get a larger brush. This little teeny brush is irritating me. So let's go here. Let's use a little bigger brush. We can make more progress if we do that. Okay, so let's start with the body of the house. So we've got purple, we got blue. Let's just do a hot pink house, because that'll kind of work into this color scheme, kind of a cool colored, pinky, purpley, bluey. And let me just put this right here. So it's by the water so you can see what I'm doing. Making it up as we go. That pink is not wanting to liquefy very well. There we go. Now this one has windows, so we're going to have to put some light in the windows. But as the chalk pastel is drying, it still has that look of pastel, which I find really fascinating. I like that. I'm not a pastel artist, but that doesn't stop me from playing with it. You know what I mean? Okay, so we've got kind of a hot pink house going on. And for the roof, what shall we do for the roof? Maybe this real dark purple, and then we'll add some other colors to it. Maybe some dark purple here, and maybe here. And then what about adding some of this turquoise blue that we used on the first house? Put a little turquoise blue in there. And maybe over here. But I'm just using the stamp as my as my guide, and then that green one in the middle, let's just enhance that by using more of that limey green color. And then we have a chimney up there, so what color should we make the chimney? How about this dark gray? I don't know why, just because. So put a gray chimney, and then how about a gray door? That'll kind of tie those together a little bit. And then let's put some windows, put some light in the windows. So this time I'm going to use maybe, let's use this brighter yellow, because we used this lemony one before, so we'll use this more golden yellow. And whatever is underneath is going to influence the color of the pastels. So you can see on the one, because there was a lot of dark ink, it really influenced that and made that look darker. So maybe whoever's in that room may be sleeping. And this little house right here just seems like it needs to have a window in it. So we're going to just make one up. I was going to let it be just what the stamp was, but I'm just thinking like we got to have a window. So let's make this a window right here. So actually, if you've never painted with pastels, if you have any, from kids or grandkids or anybody, I would say get them out and play with them, because I think you're going to have a really good time doing that. Just get them out and just play with it. Just make sure that you have something on hand that you can spray over the top of it, because you're probably going to need to fix it. So that that means so that it doesn't just come off. And there are different kinds of fixatives. There's workable fixative, there's permanent fixative, there's also Spectrafix, which is it's a non-aerosol fixative, so you've got that. And if all else fails, you can try hairspray. That is not exactly what I would call archival, but I think a lot of times people can get away with using that I know a lot of people will use it. I don't think they're selling their work when they use it, but why not try it? Why not use it? Okay. Did you see how this went just totally green? So this little house over here, the light in that window is green. So we're going to try coming back over it again. And that's because I put yellow over the blue that was underneath it. So we'll see if we can yellow it up a little bit. Okay. I think we might say that that's good enough for this house. I don't know. Maybe we'll need to we need a little bit more shading on this. It looks pretty flat. So let's put a little purple up here under the roof, the edge of the roof, and down the side. Maybe a little bit under the windows. And then just kind of pat to blend just a little bit, blend just a little bit, so it has some variety. It's not just all one color. Yeah, that looks better. Has some light on one side, dark on the other. That's good enough. Okay, and now, don't you know that we need to do something down here because these houses are kind of floating? Bye, Joan. Kind of have to put something around these little houses because they're just kind of hanging out there in midair. So what if we just take some green and just pat it around the house, and then we can turn these into some shrubbery in a little bit. So let's just add some dabble around with your brush and some of the greens. Pick different ones. Yeah, so thanks for all the suggestions for different things that that I might try on the itchiness of from my walk, that I really wasn't paying much attention. I wasn't paying attention to what I know better. Do you know how that just kind of comes back to bite you sometimes when you're like, oh man, I knew better than that. I knew better, but I did it anyway. You ever do that? And then it comes back to haunt you and remind you to pay attention to your intuition. Pay attention to those promptings of those inner voices. Okay, so I'm just adding some little, I'm not trying to get the door, I'm trying to leave the doors alone, but, you know, kind of give these a little bit of landscaping. We need a little landscaping around our little houses, don't we? So far I'm using about 2 or 3 colors in this. So we're just getting some little shrubs and little greenery, maybe some ivy coming up, some little background trees, just something so that it the houses are going to have a little bit of grounding, something that makes them sit down there. And then I'm going to get a little bit of black here, because this little house right here needs a little path. So we're going to have a little path so you can get into that little house. If it doesn't have a path, you know, how are you going to get in there, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. Just lay there and toss and turn and go, why didn't I do that? Or why did I drink that cup of coffee at 8 o'clock at night? You know, it's like not very brilliant. Just seeing if I can lighten this up on the one side of the window just a little bit, so it has a little bit more life in that window. Okay, and this one right here, we're going to go over it one more time. Let's go. Okay, well, I think we're getting somewhere with these little houses, and then maybe we'll go to this real light gray pastel with the small brush. And then let's just put a suggestion of smoke. Just a suggestion. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. wisp it out a little bit so it's not too strong, just a little wispiness. I don't know, can you see that? This one over here is a little bit harder to see, so let's see if we can add a little bit more. Yeah, just a suggestion. Okay, so we've got kind of some calico looking houses going on here. And then now that I've got the background in, then what I think we'll do is I'm going to hit this with the heat gun just a wee bit, yeah, with the heat tool just a little bit to dry it. Okay, dry enough. And then let's come down here and put in a few little suggestions of grasses and maybe suggest a tree there or something. So we just get a few little things coming up from the bottom. Again, it just helps to ground, give the bottom of the house, it just kind of helps plant it. We'll make these look kind of like suggestions of little steps. Stepping stones, maybe. Just a little bit. Just a few little stick things. Little blades of grass, little shrubby things, and then here we got a little another little tree, essence of tree, huh? Essence of tree. Okay, so we have just some little landscape things happening down there. And then, of course, because we're outside, you know, you got to have a bird or two. Way off in the distance, way off there, we put in just a few little birds, so they're up there flying around. Maybe down here we'll have just the tiny ones way back in the background. And then let's come around this with some ink, and where's my cobalt? Here it is. And cobalt blue to frame it a little bit. If you don't like cobalt blue, use the color of your choice or any color that you like. Some people like to border everything with brown, you know, walnut ink or something like that in a really dark color. And down here at the bottom, what I may do here is, what color is this? This is jet black. I'm going to put some jet black down here at the bottom so it really reinforces the fact that that's grounded down there at the bottom. So I started with blue and then I came over it with black down there, and that just helps to ground things. For some reason I'm having a hard time hanging on to my sponge today, my little piece of foam. Okay. And clean up on aisle 6 here. And then here's our little, here's this one. So we have some little wonky houses. We have a little path that goes back to that one. There's actually a little bit of light on in there. And this one right here, might have a suggestion of curtains. And then maybe just a little panes of glass, suggestion of panes of glass. And maybe we'll make the door handles a little more visible with ink. You got to have a way to get into your house, you know. If you don't have a way to get in there, it's not going to go well. And if you want to make it, give it a little bit more wood grain, you can do that. Just give it some just a suggestion of wood grain. Make them different. You don't want them all the same. Okay? And so there is our little village with some birds flying overhead. And then you can always take some of your stickers and things and make put a sentiment on it. I usually wait and do that depending on the occasion. How about this one? Just because. And I like to edge these when I think about it. I do like to edge these a little bit because they're so white. And sometimes I actually rub the ink right over the top of them. And then I think it's a good idea to use reinforce it with a little bit of glue of some kind. This is glue stick. You don't have to do a ton of it, but just a little bit kind of helps. And I don't want to come down here where and I do like to offset them, so we're just going to stick it up here. Live simply, give generously. And just put that on there. And once that is dry, or dry enough, and it's probably crooked and, you know, oops, oh well. Then I just come back and do kind of a wonky outline around that. And give it a little bit more presence. And so it says, live simply, give generously. And then you have a little card to give or send. And then if you want to, if you need to personalize it more, you can always add, you know, pick out another bit that goes with it, and add to it. You can always add more. Okay? And there you go. There's that one. Okay, so we're done with this one. Our little wonky little houses. That's all done with pastel chalks and a stamp and some pens. All right, let's come back to this one, and let's go ahead and glue this one down. See what we can make out of this. You just got told not to swear when using the bleeding tissue. Is that what you're saying, Dorothy? When I said bleeding, oh, okay. This one I'm not going to glue down just super tight. I'm going to let it have a little bit of movement. So that means I'm not going to glue all the way to the edges of the petals. I'll let those kind of have a little bit of movement. All right, let's see if we can get this on here and then we'll see if we can integrate it. I'm going to tip it a little bit. So that it's not just 100% smack dab in the middle. Okay. And when you're doing stuff like this, where you're using, you know, these things that can move around, the mediums that can move around, like the pastel or the bleeding tissue, sometimes the stuff moves around, and when you're doing that, just don't be too hard on yourself. Just go with the flow. And you'll end up with some splatters and some splotches and some stuff on the back of your cards and on the inside of it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay? Just let it go. Dorothy needs a swear jar. Ooh, that's a good idea. Dorothy would make herself rich in no time, I bet. Like the rest of us. Okay. So let me use some, I need to pick up some pens here. Let me see what I've got. All right, we got a black one. And a couple of white ones. Okay. And a gold one. All right, let's see what we can do to make this puppy come together. So, all right, this is black. All right, so let's add some black dots. Let's carry this on down the stem. And let's add a few coming out the leaves. Again, just as a matter of trying to kind of integrate things together so that they kind of work together a little bit more. Just a few, not too, don't get too carried away. Okay. All right, and then let's come with some white ones. These are Posca pens that I'm using. maybe just a few here in the leaves, just again, so we're kind of making things go together. So it's a more of an integrated whole, and then maybe a little bit of gold, just a little bit of gold here, dribble a little gold, because you know, can you ever have too much bling and gold? Other than glitter, I can do without glitter all day long. But it's nice to have the reflective quality of the gold in what you're doing. Okay, now the one thing I want to do on this that I haven't accomplished yet. Oh my goodness, what a mess I have going on here. That's all right. Let me dry this just a little bit. Okay, let's see if we can integrate and make this stem work. It's not quite as connected as I would like for it to be, so let's see if we can connect it a little bit more. And drag a little bit of this down. Even though I've painted it a different color to start with, that doesn't mean I have to leave it that way. Let's see if we can get that to work a little bit more the way I want it to. That's looking better to me. And then maybe add a little bit more of the dark color coming off the stem into the leaves so that they feel a little bit more like they belong. Bye, Rhonda. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Have a good weekend. Enjoy, enjoy. Okay, and then maybe we'll use a little bit of this dark green at the base of these leaves, just a little bit. Give them a little bit more dimension. This is the kind of stuff you can play with and experiment with. And you can make things be more interesting. Hopefully. And I'm just playing back and forth with the color and with water and just a damp brush and just patting color around just to give it a little bit more something something so it's not just quite as flat. Like so. Okay, what else shall we do? I think what I'd like to do up here in the flower, because I don't have this working together quite as well as I'd like for it to, so I'm going to put a little bit of sunshine up here. in my flower, which means sunshiny color. So a little bit of the yellow and the orange and the gold. And just pulling some of those colors from the background. Because remember, this flower was something that I added. I cut it out of another one that I didn't like and then stuck it on this background. So it's like now we're into seeing if we can make it all go together. So it looks like it was all done at the same time instead of in two different situations. Okay, so now we have some of the orange and some of the yellow splashed around in the flower. We've got the stem, a little bit, the colors a little bit better coming down. And then since I've painted over the gold, I may take that gold and splash a little bit of that gold back right on the top, so we get a little bit more gold coming down through that stem. And you know, another thing you can do is you can use the white Posca pen, and you can give some little dot flowers. So just little tiny dot flowers. So I'm just doing little 5 dots or 4. I'll do one more here. So we have some little 5 dots, and then let's put a nice gold one in the middle for the center of the flower. And that just gives us, again, a little bit more. And if the dots, if the white petals aren't big enough, you can always come back and make those white dots a little bit bigger. But it just gives you a little bit more dimension in your foreground in front of the flower. Okay? All right, I think we'll call this one, I think this one is, you know, it's pretty successful. And so what if we put a little sentiment on there? Let's realize that use your Neocolor. Yeah, Neocolor 2s for the same thing. Sure. Absolutely. Okay, and so then, you know, you can do what? I love these snarky ones. I think these are so funny. I mean, this one, how much better would life be if a liar's pants really did catch fire? To be honest, I'm just winging it. Life, motherhood, my eyeliner, everything. Yes. I would challenge you to a battle of wits, but I see you are unarmed. I mean, some of them are just so funny. She said, that's a lot of money to spend on crafts, and I knew we couldn't be friends. Let's see. I thought I was in a bad mood, but it's been a few years, so I guess this is who I am now. The fact that I have more clothes to sleep in than I do to have go out in says a lot about me as a person. Here you go. This one is a good one. Let's see if we can make this let's see if we can put this on here because this is perfectly appropriate. Now, we're going to see whether this is where it could go horribly wrong. But on the other hand, it might be okay too, right? Okay. I'm going to put some black ink around this, just a little bit, because the edge of the cardstock on these sentiments is white. So I like it when I edge them either with blue or black, doesn't really matter. And we're just about ready to take off today. We're just about ready to take off for the day. So I put some jet black around the edge. And I am going to put this right here. I'm just going to put some glue on it. You can always mat these, you know, and it's meaning you can put this on another piece of cardstock or paper, and that will make them thicker and have a little bit more presence, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to add this right here. So that will further move your eye. And it says, some days I rely heavily on coffee and my ability to ignore reality. And I'm going to let that come over so it is not a straight line coming down here. So it is further changing your eye line just a little bit. I think that is hysterical personally. I think it fits this and it fits me quite well. Oh, I need to put a little bit more glue on this. My glue stick did not want to. The glue stick did not want to totally stick, so we're going to put just a tiny little bit more glue on that one. I know, you guys, sometimes it's just the way, it's just the way it is. Okay, so here you go. Here are our two experiments in this mess of a desk that I have. Experiments using chalk, the Charvin water-soluble pastel painting sticks. If you want to be really safe, this would be a good time to give it a light spray of a fixative, or you can live dangerously and just send it to somebody or give it to somebody, and if it sheds a little bit of color, you just plead innocent and ignorant. So here's this one: live simply, give generously, and there's our little houses, our little wonky houses in a misty, stormy and situation, but they're so happy inside. There's all kinds of light and happiness going on inside their little houses, and they have a little neighborhood, and they're having, make up a whole story about it. And then here, some days I rely heavily on coffee and my ability to ignore reality. And this was a screw up from another card. So we cut it out, remade it, stamped on something to make a stem. So we added to the stem, added some leaves, and then added more of the pastels, the water-soluble pastels, to kind of make it all go together. And there you go. Bob's your uncle. We have 2 cards done. For whatever it's worth, you can play with your stuff. If you don't use the pastels like Barbara suggested, she's got Neocolor 2s. If you don't have that, hi Beth, good to see you. I haven't seen you for a long time. Good to see you in the chat. You can also use kids pastel, chalk pastels, and play with them. They will also reactivate with water. I know those you will have to spray those to fix them. Anyway, use stamps. We were using stamps to give you outlines, or you can just draw things, or you can do whatever floats your boat, right? Okay, it's good to see you all. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a good, super good rest of your weekend. And I don't know if I'll be here Monday, but I might be. So if you come on Monday, Monday's a holiday here. So if you come on Monday and I'm here, I'll see you then. If not, I will see you next Friday. Okay? So until then, as always, remember to get creative today, because it's easy. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.